Hey lovelies, I'm just going to give you guys a few minutes to come on in and get settled in. Just going to raise my volume here. Hello. Hi. Welcome back to Tea with Karen, to all those of you who are returning, and for those of you who are new and are tuning in for the first time, welcome to my 11th chat session of Tea with Karen. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for being here and giving up this time to spend with myself and Mekia Cox, who will be coming on soon. Just by you guys being here, I'm hoping that together we as a community can start having important conversations and being instrumental in creating fundamental change, especially in helping our Black brothers and sisters. Now, many of us spent last week and we all joined together in solidarity with our Black brothers and sisters and for Black Lives Matter, and we muted our social media platforms from its regular content. And we instead posted, researched, educated ourselves. We began that journey of finding out about more on racism, race inequality, Black history. So my first question to you guys, as what I've been talking with my family every day and my friends, is what did we learn from last week? And what I learned, well, I was deeply humbled. I thought I knew the basics and had a grasp of the basics of racism and Black history from what I learned in school. But the more articles I read, the more films I watched, the more documentaries I began to watch, the more podcasts, TED Talks, I was absolutely heartbroken at how much I didn't know. And flood of emotions, from being angry and upset and feeling rubbish. And that's a good thing to feel rubbish, because it means we care. And it means that we're all in this together to do something about it, to be proactive. Oh, I've missed you guys too. 5LG, right? Hello. Missed you guys too. Last night, Carl and I watched The 13th, a documentary by Ava DuVernay. It's on Netflix, but from what I'm hearing from my friends now, it is now available. Netflix has made it available on YouTube, where you can all watch for free. I urge you, each and every one of you, to spare an hour and a half to watch this very important documentary on Black history and talks about racism and systemic racism. It's so important to listen right now and to educate ourselves. And I'm learning every day, guys. Every day I'm learning something new. But if you have the time, please make the time if you can, and watch The 13th on Netflix if you are a Netflix user, or it's on YouTube. And I will post the link after today's chat session. So I asked all of you to bring your notebooks and your pens. So I guess the first questions that I want to have with you guys, that I've been having again with my family and friends, is what can I do to help our Black brothers and sisters? What can I do to help bring about fundamental change? And I hope in the coming weeks, because this is not going to be something that's just a trend, it has to be something moving forward that we talk about on a regular basis. And it will be about educating ourselves, researching. And that's on us, lovelies. It's not up to our Black brothers and sisters to be the ones to educate us. That's on us, and we have a lifetime of learning to do. Saying that, there are so many amazing Black activists and foundations who have dedicated their entire lives in the fight against racial inequality. And I take their lead on how to be proactive and what it means to be anti-racist and how to help cultivate change. If you go to my cause section, I'm putting it in a circle, heart. If you go to my cause section on my Instagram profile, you will see a picture of George Floyd, God rest his soul. You will see a picture of him, and underneath it says causes. If you press that, you will see all the links that I've been reading and the sources that I've been taking from, especially for today's chat session. And I encourage you, Mila says hello, and I encourage you all to read these articles and do some research. And if any of those links are helpful to you, then that's wonderful. So please, yes, click on the cause section over there. I'm not an activist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not an expert. But my social media platforms are my responsibility of what I want them to say, and the community that I want to foster. And as are you guys. Each and every one of you are responsible for your social media pages as well. And there's no better time than now to put your social media platforms to good use. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you. So many years have gone by where you and I have been on this journey together, and I'm so proud of the community that we have fostered and nurtured together, which is supportive and encouraging. I know that these are very sensitive and very painful times, and it's very easy to throw hate at each other or point fingers. But now more than ever is a time to listen, support, encourage. We are all going to make mistakes. And I know I've seen from your tweets and your posts that you want to say something, you're not sure what to say, or you're scared of saying the wrong thing. But it's better to say something in a safe community than to not say anything. Because silence is being part of the oppressor. And it's so important that we start to have these conversations, no matter how uncomfortable or how scary it may feel. Let's sit in that uncomfortability together, and let's help each other understand, because that's the first step, is understanding and educating ourselves, and then we can move forward with purpose. Please be patient with one another. Like I said, these are very challenging times, and we need to listen, so we need to be patient with one another. And you know me, I'm all about mental health and mental well-being. Take your breaks in between. Hit that reset button in between. It's so important to take those breaks and come back feeling refreshed and renewed and stronger to fight the good fight, to march forwards with courage and compassion and empathy. So love yourselves first, and then you can love each other and be the best versions of yourselves. I am so delighted and so excited that my dear friend Mekia Cox, who you know from the Rookie, Chicago Med, but also playing Princess Tiana on Once Upon a Time, she's going to be joining me any second now. I will bring Mekia on. Oh, Mama's here too. Hello. I'm so excited that Mekia can join us, and she's so inspiring and has a lot of courageous and inspiring stories to share with us today. So, and you can follow her at Mekia Cox. There you are!
Hi, friend.
Hello, I miss you so much.
I miss you so much. Look at how beautiful you look, and you match your background. You just look gorgeous. You're just a ray of sunshine.
You are
And
so
thank you for
beautiful.
your words. Seriously, that they are powerful and they help and they are needed.
Thank you so much, love. How are you? You look so well and
Oh.
so gorgeous. I miss you even more. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I think I'm where everyone else is right now, feeling all the feels. I have days where I feel like, I did something, I got something accomplished, and then like 2 hours later, I'm in my bed in the fetal position trying to cry myself to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, I'm feeling all the feels right now. So there's that. But that being said, I am doing good. And I am trying to just do my best to educate my own self as well and find out where it is that I am needed and where I can serve, which I think is what everyone's trying to do right now.
And do you feel too that this time round that there is this shift, like something has changed? I mean, it breaks my heart that it takes documented footage of what happened to George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and countless others, to finally shake things up now. But nonetheless, I feel like there's a shift. Do you feel that way too?
I totally do. And then on top of it, because it's not like these videos hadn't been out there, because they kind of had been for a while. What happened was COVID. Like, we had COVID. We were all at home. We were all able to get on our phones, watch the news. We all saw it, and we all said, "Wait a second, this is not right. This isn't good." And then on top of it, we had time to sit with it. Usually, I feel like, you'd see a video and you go, "Oh my God, that's horrible." And then you have to go to work the next day, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like we actually had time this time, and we're all of a sudden we're saying, no, this can't be anymore. There are so many names. I've been trying my best to, go to town hall meetings and all the virtual town hall meetings, and every time there's some new name that I haven't even heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to stop. I'm sure you've seen the like pictures with all the names on it, and it freaks me out.
Yeah, yeah.
um so
No, and I speaking to what you said, I've been taking lead and guidance from all these incredible Black activists and foundations, who dedicate their whole lives in the fight against racial inequality. One of them being Rachel Cargle, who, if you guys are watching, she's on Instagram. Please, I encourage you to follow her. She talks about passive empathy versus radical empathy. And passive empathy, meaning, for those of you watching, that, to say that, yes, this is wrong, this is not right, is one thing. But now, more than ever, I mean, our Black brothers and sisters have been suffering from oppression for at least 401 years.
mm-hmm.
And you have to go to the root, the source of where this all began. That's why I just watched the 13th documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and my gosh, what an eye-opener that was, to learn from where it all started and how we got to where we are today.
Totally.
And it's it
In addition to that,
yeah.
can I put another one out there? I think I sent it to you as well, but well, there's tons of documentaries.
Yeah.
There's a podcast I listened to the other day. It was on Up First on NPR. However, the podcast is Throughline. And the episode was called American Police, and it breaks down the history of American police all the way back from the time of slaves. And there was a ton of stuff that I didn't know that I learned from it. So I urge you, I've sent it to like as many people as I can. I urge you to listen to that as well.
We'll put a list
Sure.
together again after our chat session of everything that we talked about, and links for you guys. If you please make the time. I keep saying if, but it's not if you have the time. It's please make the time.
Totally. Yeah.
But going back to Rachel Cargle, she talks about radical empathy. Now, radical empathy is now talking, walking the talk, and going into action. And I think that first big step, as you said, is about doing the research and educating ourselves, and taking lead from these foundations as well. I'll put my hands up, like that. I have a lifetime of educating to do for myself, and it helps so much being able to talk to dear friends and to my family every day about everything that I read. Sometimes I have to read, I mentioned to you on the phone the other day, sometimes I have to read articles 3-4 times to really understand. And I know it can be so overwhelming because there's so much information out there, but that is what is so wonderful, is that there is so much information out there that we can take from and learn from. There's these fantastic TED Talks that I've started to watch as well. And I'm making notes and I'm learning bit by bit every day, because I feel like, many of us are initially scared because we don't want to say the wrong things. We want to make sure that whatever we're doing is in alignment and respectful to the Black Lives Matter movement and what all these activists and foundations are talking about right now. So there is a young activist on Instagram whose page I was really enjoying going through all her posts, called Waste Free Marie. And she commented on something yesterday which really resonated. She said, most racism doesn't come from hatred. It actually just comes from being complicit.
Yeah. That's true. And I guess I kind of wanted to talk about the like normalization of racism that has happened. As a Black person, we all have our stories. Like, oh, when was the first time you were called the N-word? You know what I mean? Like, we all have those stories, and it was normalized. But then if you take a step back and you say, wait, that's not okay. That shouldn't be normal. I saw a video scrolling through my feed that was sort of trending the other day, and it was about, I don't know if you've seen it or not, it was about parents talking to their kids about what they need to do if they ever encounter a police. I remember seeing it, and I saw what it was about, and I didn't want to watch it because I knew, and I'm feeling myself getting emotional talking about it, but I knew that I was going to have that conversation with my daughter, and I knew it was going to hurt me to watch it. So finally, the other day, I did watch it. I cried.
Yep, I did too.
But I realized that people didn't know that we had to have these conversations, and again, it's just normalized. It's just what we do, So I am now like, I don't want to have that conversation with my daughter. So we have to make some changes now. And we need help.
Yeah. And now it's on us to, anyone non-Black, white, all of us, we need to come together. And like I was saying to the gang here, this isn't something that can be fixed overnight. This isn't something that is only a trend for a week or two. And look, I'm sure you've seen all sorts of posts on social media, which have been shocking and hard to digest. And also, at the same time, from those who are trying to make an effort to understand and come to understanding. And I'm so encouraged by seeing many of you out there who are taking the time and the patience to help someone else come into understanding. And I'm also encouraged by the fact that there are those people who, if they don't understand, they ask questions, which is good, because we have to get these conversations going, no matter how uncomfortable it is. So, I mean, with you mentioned, I remember when we were talking on the phone that you mentioned that you've had your share of experiences of implicit bias or racism and all that. How do you even begin to get your head around that?
You don't. um, you know, so I'll go back to that example of the first time I was called a nigger. It was I was on tour. I believe that was with Smokey Joe's Cafe at that time, and we were in Boise, Idaho.
Because you have this glorious, amazing voice.
Just like you. We gotta find a duet to do at some point in time. We're gonna figure it out.
Not to take away. I distracted.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes, yeah. And I remember walking out of my hotel and going to get some lunch, and someone passed by me on a bike, and he said, he nodded and said hi, and I was like, oh, hi. Another person passed by me and said, how are you today? And I was like, oh, like, people here are nice. Okay, great. I'm going to say hi to the next person that I walk by. So I walk by the next person. I say hi. He says to me, go back to Africa, nigger. And it's so weird when that happens, because you always think, oh, if that happened to me, I would have done this, this, and that, and da-da-da-da. But you're so shocked by the situation that you don't know what to do. I mean, I turned around, I looked at him, and he turned around and looked at me. He kept walking, but he turned around and looked at me and then said it again. And I just stopped. And honestly, all I could do was laugh, because I was like, is this reality? Did this just happen to me? There was another time where we were in West Hollywood, and we were having a pleasant lunch out on the sidewalk at a restaurant that actually I believe is Black owned. A homeless man came past us, and you could hear him grumbling, and he got close to us and he said, get out of here, niggers. What are y'all niggers doing here? Da, 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 da. And a friend of mine was right by him, and he got up because he just reacted, because he was spitting on my neck. I could feel him spitting on my neck, so I just had a visceral reaction to it, and I got up. But this man who is homeless feels like he can say that to us and feels superior to us just because of the color of his skin. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? There is, not only is it systemic, but there's a psychological change that has to happen with humanity. And we have to see each other as humans, not as black or white or brown or whatever. And then there's the more like the implicit bias type stories where, actually a friend just reminded me of this one the other day. Well, let me tell this story first. The first time I felt other, and I will also say this, like, I am fairly lucky. I have not encountered physical police brutality myself, but I know a ton of other people who have. And that's also like, why do I need to say that? Why am I lucky because I haven't encountered that? That's crazy. But the first time I sort of felt other was when my senior year of high school, my drama teacher decided to do, as our two main stage plays, decided to do Once on This Island and Pearly,
Mm-hmm.
two Black shows.
Yeah. Two
Quote unquote.
wonderful shows.
Exactly. Yeah. So there were really only like 3 of us that were in the drama program. But it was the first time I saw my white friends get upset. And they were upset because we were doing 2 Black shows. And we thought, wait a second, like, the past 3 years, all we've been doing is quote unquote white shows, and we've never said anything. Like, we've never had a problem with that. Why do you all of a sudden have a problem that these are Black shows? You know what I mean? And I realized, right, that's right, because I still am other, you know. Even, you know, this is my Princess Tiana story, even going back further than that. You know, when I was 7, I auditioned to be a kid of the kingdom in Orlando at the Magic Kingdom. I was one of, you know, I think there were 6 boys, 6 girls cast out of like 600. It was a wonderful time for me. I was so happy to be there. That was my first professional job.
Hey.
And I thought, you know, I'm gonna, you know, of course, when you're 7, 16 sounds like you're an adult. So I thought when I, you know, turn 16 and I can work here, I'm gonna come back and work here, and I'm gonna be one of the Disney princesses. And then I realized there was no Disney princess for me to be. And so I thought, well, I mean, could I maybe be Jasmine? could that possibly work? Probably not, but you know, I'm hoping and wishing. So when Princess and the Frog came out, I thought, oh, there it is, like some girl that is gonna be the kid of the kingdom is gonna have that opportunity now. But it wasn't around for us, you know what I mean? And these are small things, but if these things can start to change, it will help all of us.
Yeah. I completely resonate with what you're saying. Growing up too, I wish it was only maybe Jasmine from Aladdin, but didn't have really any women of color to even look up to. And that goes down to Barbie. Barbie was predominantly all white. And so now obviously we're seeing this huge shift in that, but it's and representation. But you know, I'm part of this show called Mirror Royal Detective, and I can imagine when Princess and the Frog came out that we both shared the same feelings. It was such an important moment for our communities, because it was like, okay, now our children, our children's children, grandchildren have someone to look up to that they can relate to, that's accessible. And I've always said that diversity shouldn't be a trend. Diversity is just a reflection of the truth of what the kind of world that we live in, this beautiful world that we live in, you know, all walks of life. And when I remember when Tiana came out, like I had a moment too, like it was just, I was so happy. I said, well, finally,
Totally,
this is happening. And we've waited a very long time for even a show like that, characters like Tiana to come out. Like we waited a long time.
yeah.
And guys, you know, when you know, it's so wonderful that Mekia is sharing some of these stories, that what she's experienced and whatnot. But and it's, I know our instant reaction is to show empathy, and that's wonderful. But from what I've been reading from other activists too, these stories are being shared so that you guys can begin to understand of what it might be like, because we don't understand. And we will never understand fully because we're not Black. But what we can do is now is listen to these stories so that we can move forward with purpose and to do something. So, you know, thank you, love, for sharing.
Totally. I mean, and the only reason I share those stories is because, you know, I've seen a lot of comments that's like, yeah, but racism isn't really actually alive. Like that was a long time ago. It doesn't still happen today. It's because they haven't heard these stories. And when it's closer to home, when it's one of your friends, I know when I've told the story about me being called the N-word, I've seen heads turn like, wait, really? You? And I thought, yeah, I mean, all of us have had that experience at some point in time. So yeah.
And then now this brings up the matter which I've been reading a lot about this whole thing about Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. And okay, we're going in this conversation, guys, because it's so important to have, right? I first saw from Billie Eilish, who was tweeting and posting about it, how and guys, if you guys already know this, great. But for those of you who don't know, let's have this important conversation. Billie Eilish quoted an example of why it is about Black Lives Matter. Of course, our Black brothers and sisters know that all lives matter. But right now, and for the past 401 years of oppression, our Black brothers and sisters are dying and don't feel safe anymore. And so it's the analogy that was used was that if there is a house on fire on your street, the fire department are going to come out and put that fire out on that house. Do all the other houses need to be watered down? No, they don't. Do they matter? Of course they matter. But right now, it's this house that's on fire with a family in there that needs our help. So that's what they mean when they say that this is right now, it's Black Lives Matter. Because once we start to care about the welfare, the equality of our Black brothers and sisters, that's when everything else falls into place. And I know that might be hard for some of you to understand, and I get it, but then this is why I encourage you to continue, because there's only so much we can talk about in an hour, but because I also want to talk about you and your dreams and your journey. But that's why it's so important to watch documentaries like The 13th. That's so important to listen to this. I posted, and I know you did too as well. We've been posting about systemic racism and redlining and what that means. And when they break it down to the simple forms of going to the root and the source of the problem, that's when you begin to understand this ripple effect that it's had.
That is exactly right. That's what, again, systemic change. And it's not just one thing. I mean, right now we are dealing with police, and that is a big part of it. But it's not just that. It's, education. We've been educating in the wrong way. We've been learning the wrong things. Like, if we knew the truth, if we were taught the truth in school, I don't believe we would continue to repeat history. History just keeps repeating itself. I look back at old pictures or videos of riots, and I think to myself, I used to think to myself, like, man, that was a hard time, but thank God that's never going to happen again.
Yeah, and then that's another that saying that, because my mom and dad are all about quotes, and mama sent me this quote the other day from Maya Angelou, who I love. She said, "History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again."
Yes.
And
but that can only happen if we are taught history correctly.
Yeah.
Like, no one wanted this. We didn't want this, but we hadn't been taught about what happened we got taught on a surface level about what happened during the civil rights movement, but we haven't been taught about the intricacies. And, I feel like if we had it, I don't think majority of the people don't want this for other people, which is why there's been an uprising now, because we were forced to look at it. And if we were educated about the situation, I don't think we would be here again. But we have not been, and we haven't been in the right way.
Yeah. And also too, now with how much information is out there, truly it's a choice. Ignorance is a choice.
Totally.
And that's
What did I
entirely
see the other
on
day? What did I see the other day that resonated with me? Oh, I can't find it now. Oh, I've lost it. All right, you go on. I'll find it, and we'll come back to that.
When you remember, let me know. I know, because there's so much that
There's so much. I've been taking notes, and yeah.
Yeah, I have like my workbook where I'm just like writing, and even when I'm watching documentaries, if there's something that sticks out that I need to write down,
Totally.
I will write down if I feel that's going to help, sharing on our platforms.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here it is. Prejudice is the emotional commitment to ignorance. Don't choose to be ignorant. Just don't.
Yeah.
Choose to educate yourself.
Yeah, it's a choice. And also, like I said, keep having these conversations, no matter how uncomfortable they are.
Yeah.
They're uncomfortable for a reason, and that's good, because that's going to certainly with being more proactive, that's going to shift. But it has to start now. And like I was saying before, that we're seeing so many reactions on social media, and look, you and I both have platforms where we have fans as young as 4 years old, to Aunt Judith, who's watching now with her granddaughter in Austin, Texas, who's 72 years old. And everyone has their thoughts and opinions, and it's good that we're having these open conversations now. And I know some people are like, well, do we have to talk about this every second of the day? It needs to be part of a regular conversation. It has to,
because there are people living it every single day.
And especially what we're hearing now with today's young graduates, for example, all the younger generation, is that you guys represent the future. You have the power to create and shape the future, for not only for us, for yourselves, for your children, for your children's children, your grandchildren. You are playing a very fundamental role in that. And I feel like you and I are like, many of us are like the big sisters, or the parents, to encourage younger people to be proactive. And we've seen that now. We've seen so many young people, which has been so moving. I see them in protests in the neighborhood. Understanding parents. That CNN did a wonderful town hall with Sesame Street.
Sesame Street, yeah.
Oh, it was great. And guys, you can go and watch that. I'll post the link too. It was so wonderful, even for the big kids to watch, to come together and put a plan of action together. I think that's, if anything that you take away from our tea session today, is that being patient with one another, listening to each other. Don't fight hate with hate. It's all about being proactive, radical empathy, as Rachel Cargle says. Mekia, thanks so much, because you've been so wonderful talking about what you've been through and your experiences and your opinions. It's so helpful and gives us sort of like a viewpoint to where you're coming from. But I also want to talk about, obviously, your acting and all that. So Mekia and I met through Once Upon a Time, even though we were in different seasons. But that's one thing that's so wonderful about our Once Upon a Time family, is that extended, with everyone coming in and out, each season, we all sort of find our way to each other and get to know each other. And then on The Rookie, of course, too, we met and got to work together again. And it's just been so wonderful. You have so many adoring fans that love you so much and have sent some questions in. I will go through some of them with you. There's so many. Of course, yeah, so many good questions too. Hello _ Teresa asks, Mekia, who's your inspiration?
My inspiration. So, again, we both come from, well, you come from musical theater, right? Or is it just
So
music?
it's music.
It's just music.
It's music. I was in the original cast of Mamma Mia. I never even
Oh,
really knew about musical theater really because I wanted to act and I wanted to sing. I didn't know that you could do that together until much
together.
later on. And then I was like, what? This is like a whole new world for me. But yeah, that's where it started.
I love it. Um, well, Audra McDonald has always sort of been one of my favorites. I just think she's fantastic. And you know, Ragtime was the first thing I saw her in, and she just floored me. And then I saw her in Lady Day, and that was like she became Billie Holiday. She was not herself. I don't know. Did you get to see that by any chance?
No, I saw Ragtime, and I used to sing in auditions Your Daddy's Son. I mean,
Yes,
she
me
sings
too.
it beautifully. If you haven't heard, you too?
Yes.
That's such a, my God, like,
Yeah.
me
Heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful song.
If you guys haven't seen Ragtime, I encourage you.
Yeah, especially now.
Yes, yes. I wonder if I'll have to do some research. We'll do some research because I wonder if we could see that online. We'll look that up. I know some theaters now are going into more interactive where they can watch online, but that's a good one to watch. I'm going to put that down. That's a good one. Anyway, no, Audra McDonald is
She's just always been one of mine. But then I also love, Viola Davis and Kerry Washington, who's been doing some really great yoga IG lives. Regina King. Oh, Watchmen. Put that on the list. That's another good one.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That's on HBO, right?
It's on HBO, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's on the list. I will put that there. And you mentioned yoga. Especially during these pandemic, I feel like more of the need to take those reset moments where you do meditation, yoga, or taking the dog socially distancing with the mask on for a walk or whatnot. But is yoga? So you're a big yoga fan too?
Yes. However,
I know with our schedules changing all the time. It's
totally
hard to lock into a routine, and also your mama too. So
yeah, there's that. Yeah. What we do though is in the morning we'll come downstairs. Unfortunately, in my living room there was a leak, and so I had like 5 holes in my wall, which is awesome. And excuse me, my furniture my living room was out of commission for a while, and that's really the only place where we have space to do yoga. So for about a month and a half during this pandemic, which is the time that I need to be doing yoga, I was not able to. So luckily, just a few weeks ago, we got it all situated. It's all back in order now, and I got back into it. But I did miss it because I realized that that's my time where I do try and center, and I try and set my intention for the day. And I found that when I was not doing the yoga, I wasn't doing that. So yeah, I do think that it is important.
It's so important to check in. Like, this is what we've been talking to in the past 2 sessions about checking in with yourselves daily, because everything that's happening, there are some people that say, well, if I take a break, then I'm not working hard enough towards fighting these causes. But all the more reason why you have to, with your mental strength and emotional stamina, especially with everything that's going on now. Many families are suffering financially, and I think the uncertainty of not knowing when this is all when the pandemic is going to come to an end, when is fundamental change? Well, it's starting now, but there's so much more ways to go. And
yeah.
I've seen these animation and cartoon sketches, which I think you've seen as well on social media, explaining to each other. I think it was they show like the sisterhood. So you have a black woman trying to console her white sister to say, they're saying, oh, this is tiring. She said, yes. And there's this big, steep mountain hill above. She goes, we still have a long way to go.
Long way to go. Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yes, I
And
have
she
seen.
reaches, yeah.
Yeah.
But what was so nice is that you saw her reach for her hand to say, come on, let's do this
Yeah.
together.
Oh, I haven't seen that one in particular, but that's nice.
I will post it, but it was so wonderful because yes, it is a marathon, you know, like, but you have to maintain your strength, because when you're strong and good for yourself, that's when I was saying
You're
you can
good
give,
for everyone else. Yeah.
you can give one. Okay, so let me go. There's so many good questions. Okay. So Lady Christine asks, what was your reaction when you got the part of Tiana?
Well, first of all, the whole thing was really fast. I got called in to audition the day before I went to audition, and I did not know I was auditioning for Tiana because they didn't want people to know.
Me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was given, I think it was Little Red Riding Hood. It was some scene with her and someone else. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was just a scene that they had taken from past episodes that they gave. So I didn't know until I got in there that was what I was auditioning for, and then they told me, and I went, "Oh!" I was like, "Wait, do I need to change some?" And they were like, "No, just give us what you came with. You're fine. It's fine." But then I got excited. I thought, "Oh, well, this will be great." And when I got it, I just turned into my 7-year-old self again, and I thought I do, because once when the movie did come out, I thought, this is amazing, this is great, but it's beyond my time. I can't play this anymore. You know what I mean? Never thinking. Well, I just never thought that it would come back around and I would be able to play that role. You know what I mean? So I was, all that to say, I was super excited and really happy. And I was happy with what they did with the role, you know, just in general on that show. They did a good job of making the female characters very strong. So I was very, very excited.
And I think what's so wonderful too about Once Upon a Time too is that they take these iconic Disney characters and they're modernizing them so that they do become more accessible to fit in with the times that we're in now. I think it's so important to have these empathetic characters, which young boys and girls can relate to, and see how they navigate through everyday situations like all of us. That was what was so special about it, and to see that they too are human beings and that they make mistakes and they're not perfect,
right.
And that, you know, it's redefining fairy tale characters, and I think that's what I love so much about the show. And I was so excited too. Every time when they announced a new Disney character coming on, when they announced Tiana, I was like, this is so exciting. And there's so many more, you know, that could have been. But I wish that Jasmine and Tiana had a moment together.
Right?
That's just me putting it out there. I would have really loved that. Come on for a magic carpet ride. We could have demonstrations together.
I'm all for it. Maybe we can just make a spin-off show. Wonderful. Jasmine and Tiana.
It would be great. Well, one can dream. One can dream. We can put it out there. Let me see. So, okay. These are such great questions, guys. Oh, and on that note, with Tiana, Luana asks for Mekia in Once Upon a Time playing Princess Tiana. What similarities do you have with her?
I will say she was one of the characters, unlike the character that I play now, she was one of the characters that was probably closest to my personality. Super optimistic, which I tend to be. Very goal-oriented. you know, she knew what she wanted to do and she went for it. And I feel like I have a lot of those traits. She's also kind of a fixer. She wants to fix everything, and I have a tendency to do that, which is why this whole thing has been kind of hard for me, because I know it's going to take a long time to fix, but I want to fix it. You know what I mean? So yeah, and then I think she just liked life. You know what I mean? And I have a love for life. So yeah, we actually had a lot of similarities.
Those are such beautiful. I love how you say, you know, you love your life. If we've learned anything between the pandemic and George Floyd, it's the fragility of life,
Mm.
how we only have one life.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, during this time last week when we muted our social media platforms from its regular content, they asked, you know, what did you learn? And I did a lot of soul searching. I began to, and I don't know if it could be something that as we go through life and gain more life experience, as we get older, as each year goes by, more and more, we feel the need to really look at our lives and say, well, what do I want my life to mean? What legacy do I want to create? I mean, there were questions on Twitter that I saw, even like, your children are going to ask you, you know, Mama, Dada, what did you do during that
During this
time?
time, totally.
It's a very powerful question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to be able to look back on this moment, because this moment is going in history.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to ask yourselves, what did I do about it?
That is beautifully said and exactly right.
And that is something that I ask myself now that every day. And it's so good to ask those questions. You know, just a lot of soul searching, a lot of humility in that too, of learning that you don't know everything, that there's so much to learn. There's so many voices that need to be heard, that we need to listen to.
And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to not know exactly everything you need to be doing right now, but keep searching for it. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BMP_30 is Mekia ever going to return to Chicago Med? They love you, of course. So you have to ask.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm always gonna be Dr. Charles's daughter, you know, so there is always, it's not like they killed me off, you know, so there is always a possibility that I could return. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but there is always a possibility.
Yeah. It's always good to keep the doors open and
exactly
see what happens.
Exactly.
Art Haydens, he asks, he's asked a couple of good questions. Well, he says obviously you're playing Princess Tiana, and you playing her was an amazing, being an amazing role model to young girls, and to your daughter. How wonderful is that?
Yeah.
That as your little girl, you know, grows up, she's going to say, "Oh my gosh, my mom played." That's so wonderful.
It's crazy for me to think about. You know what I mean? For her to see me as that is like, it's an honor, a real honor to have been able to play that role of the first African American Disney princess, especially with my background. And so, like I said, I thought it was really important for little girls to see not only women, but women of color in these strong and powerful positions, but also be loving and caring and compassionate and be leaders. I think it really is important for people to see that. I think, you know, seeing the first Black president, that was really important for kids to see, because they all of a sudden go, wait, he looks like me. I can do that. I can do that. You know what I mean? And so to have been that representation for little girls of color means a lot to me, and I'm very thankful that I was able to hold that position.
And you played her so beautifully too.
Oh, thank you.
You know, and that's something that your daughter is. I'm excited. I can't wait for that day to come. Well, no, we don't want to wish her to grow. We want them to stay.
No, it's true. It's
you know,
true.
yeah, but the day when she does watch with you is going to be such
Totally.
a magical moment.
Totally.
You have to record it.
It's true. It's true. She actually has a little. My mom has a friend that was making masks, and one of the masks she made is a little Princess Tiana mask.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay. Oh, and Ryan. Okay, so Ryan asks, if Jasmine and Tiana met, what do you think their friendship would be like?
Yeah, like ours. That I'll tell you this: they would like each other immediately, right away. Like, are we already best friends? Okay.
You know, it's what you said about, you know, your similarities between you and Tiana is that ambition is something that is so beautiful, and often we see amazing examples of that with you and Tiana, but we also see not so great examples where they don't, you know, and I often find what the scary thing is that we're moving into a culture where now the good people, the good ones, are apologizing for being ambitious, and that's nothing to be apologetic about.
Mm-hmm.
It's so wonderful to see boys, girls, you know, big kids, little kids, all finding their passions that they're ambitious about. Ambition is a very beautiful thing if done with integrity and dignity and respect and with a good attitude on your shoulders. When it's done that way, then ambition is a really beautiful thing. It's when it becomes selfish, then that's different. Yes. But that's where, you know, I feel like unfortunately that's sort of watered down into the meaning of ambition, but it shouldn't be, because ambition is a beautiful thing.
Totally.
And I say this because you and Tiana evoke all the good and beautiful things about ambition. And that's something that I just admired about the character and you as I've been getting to know you even more. And how excited, guys, was I when I did get onto the Rookie and I saw that I was going to be working. Yay! It's like coming full circle back. I'm like,
I know.
Oh, family.
I know. It was so fun having you on set, and everyone loved you, which is why you came back, and hopefully you will continue to come back. But everyone loves you on that set. But everyone,
I love you guys. It's such a wonderful show. It's it's such a family sense of community there. And when you have that, it's so special.
It's so special. It's rare. It's not usual out here. It's really wonderful. Yeah.
And I love being with you guys. So I told them, whenever you want, just let me know.
Yeah.
We have a minute left, love. Is there anything you want to say to the gang on here?
That list, you're going to compile a list and put it together, and wonderful. Yes, wonderful. My main thing right now is I just don't want this to be a hashtag. I don't want this to just be something that is trending currently. Like, we really have to be in this for a long haul, and we will see change, and it will be hard at times, but I think we just have to hold each other's hands and continue.
Yeah. You ended that perfectly. Well, I'm sending you so much love. Sorry, love, because there's a delay now. Of course it happens in the end. But thank you for having tea with me. And let's do this again soon. Can we do a duet again soon? Because that would be fun. Okay, done.
Nice.
Done.
I like it.
Done. Thanks.
Lovely. Love you tons. Mwah, mwah.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.